think when you live in the city, you don't see the effects of nature. You don't understand why people are fighting for the climate and why people are fighting for the environment. And when you live there, you see it all the time.
Welcome to reVyven, where environmental ideas come to life. At reVyven, we aim to connect, learn, and make a difference.
So we're here today with Vanessa Ruber. Vanessa is the Community Marketing and Impact Manager for Patagonia in Switzerland. She also sits on the board of directors for Protect Our Winters, which we'll get into a bit later. So welcome, Vanessa.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
I met Vanessa at a Impact Hub Zurich event. It was a storytelling breakfast by Patagonia, and it was for you were screening the film Monsters in Our Closet. And I think the point of that film was to really look at plastics in our clothing.
Yeah, and consumption. I mean, the two go together hand in hand, but really to see how our clothing is made and what we're wearing on us and how bad it really is.
Yeah, which is such an important topic. And the more we have a program with this right now with Impact Hub Basel, a collaboration, and the more we dive into the issue, the more we realize people have no idea how our clothing is made and how complex the supply chain is.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree. I've been to so many events and people, or even like just speaking amongst groups, like, your workout group or whatever, and they're always surprised when they hear like, I thought that was good quality. And then it's like, no, you're actually wearing oil and gas on you to your skin.
Yeah. Yes.
So I think people, we get really surprised. We think something's good and then you find out it's not because we don't have any education. We're not educating enough the people on what they're wearing.
Yeah. And it's interesting because it comes up a lot. I don't have a background in fashion or textile or any of that, but I have a background in education. And I think that's one of the key elements of this is to create education and exposure around the topic and then start to dive into it a bit deeper. Because if people don't know, they won't understand the importance of it.
No, for sure. And like they don't read the little fine print. Like they buy something because, it was cheap or it was, we trust this brand, or they've heard about, like, we went around how it was made, who it was made from. So that was a big, oh my God, like, children are making our clothing. But then we still don't look at what we're wearing. We don't we don't dive into, okay, so we don't want to wear stuff that were badly made by, badly factories. But we should also look at how it's actually made, like the whole cotton, the difference between cotton and organic cotton, the difference between polyester and then recycled polyester. People don't have a clue. They just are like, I'm wearing cotton, it's good. Well, no, actually, you're wearing pesticides all over you.
Yeah. It's such an interesting, complex industry. And
the scale of it is frightening, honestly.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the amount of consumption that we consume on a yearly basis, and then what happens to that. And I think there's three main things that happen to it. It's either incinerated, it's landfilled, or it's shipped to nations that really don't want to deal with our influx of clothing. And then it becomes their problem.
Or we're hoping now, like, it would go into secondhand sales. Like, we're hoping that it would be upcycled. I mean, hopefully, we hope that our children will get this education and then do something better with it. But I think, like, it was interesting because I was at an event 2 weeks ago where Temu did a talk, like someone who was talking against Temu, but how they're going to come, like, Shein is here, Temu's here, all these brands are going to come in and we just buy because it doesn't cost anything. And you're like, oh, I'll just wear, I just need a dress for tomorrow night. I'll buy this quickly because it doesn't cost anything. And not thinking about the consequences of constantly, you're entering this circle of, well, I'll just buy it quickly, or I'll just buy that quickly. And then we enter into the whole fast fashion, fast consumption, just like fast food. Now fast food is everywhere. So, the whole clothing industry is just taking over like fast food. We used to have markets on squares, and now you go to a square, there's no more market. It's just McDonald's and Kentucky Fried Chicken. I mean, it's entered Switzerland. When I moved here, we didn't have all these fast foods, and now it's everywhere. Yes. And you've lost the local markets. So that whole thing, like the clothing is, I'm not saying next, it's already here, but it's coming in strong because we're not educating. Brands are just, buy.
Yeah, which is such a shame.
Well, it also validates the consumption model, right? Like if you need something just this once, it confirms these brands that they're doing
a good job.
And that they're growing because there's a demand. But it's kind of like, well, we shouldn't be focusing
and then
on
the whole social, the TikTok and the Snapchats, this is super scary. The whole, like, what the young people see, and then I have to have that piece because it was on, social. I'm showering in a jacket and I want to do my story showering in a jacket that one time and then I'll throw it out. I mean, it's just crazy.
Yeah. I think clothes were never designed to be disposable, but yet they have become very disposable. And that's something tonight we're doing an event where we'll really focus on quality. And I think that there is a lot to say if you have an item of clothing that you appreciate, the amount of craftsmanship that went into it. I think you're far more attached to it. There's an emotional connection. You're less likely to dispose of it, which is good because it keeps it in the circle much longer.
Yeah.
And then we're less inclined to keep buying more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or we hope so.
Yeah, we hope so. So we'll backtrack just so we can have an introduction to you. And from my understanding, Vanessa, you're from Toronto, Canada. And how was your childhood? Were you exposed to nature and outside a lot? No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So we were, I was lucky. I grew up in the city, but our house went down onto a river. So onto the Humber River. And so we were super lucky. So we were able to like play outside and go into a forest and then get to the river. And my parents were very much into like, we go hiking and we'd be outside. So we were outside. I'm not saying incredible amount, but we were outside a lot. I was, for being born in the city, a lot.
That's fantastic.
And we came to Switzerland almost every year.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Because you have a Swiss connection.
So my parents were both Swiss,
Okay.
Swiss, and they moved over there when they were 18, 19. So when most Swiss people left to go somewhere, and they never came back. So we grew up over there. My mother worked for the Swiss consulate, and she didn't want to move around. She didn't want to be one of the diplomats that moved around all the time. So she stayed. We stayed in Toronto, but we were able to come back every summer or every other summer to see Switzerland, and
nice.
that was really lucky because then we spent 2 months pretty much every summer in Switzerland, speaking Swiss German, adventuring around the mountains, and being connected. So yeah, I've always had the connection to Switzerland.
That's fantastic. Yeah, we were talking on the way over about you maintained the language and being able to speak Swiss German, which has been a real asset
Yeah,
to you.
yeah.
That's great. And so you moved to Verbier?
I moved to Verbier. So my first time in Verbier was in 96, but I moved over in 99. So I finished university and then came for, you finish university and you want to ski. So my 2-year, I'm going to just ski and then I'll go back and get a real job. Yeah, we are 2024 and I'm still waiting for my real job.
Yeah, that's great. That's kind of a nice way to do it. Yeah.
No, so I got stuck here. I got stuck in the mountains. Yeah, I met my husband. Yeah, never left Verbier. Well, we had to move down. We don't live in Verbier. We live down the valley, but we do still live in that area and get to ski and be with nature. And I get to hike and have my children and dogs and the whole community. And it's really, it's special.
Yeah, it does sound very special. It seems like from what we met with Anna from Circle Supply Company, I think she's in that area as well.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's a little hub of outdoor enthusiasts and people who really care about the environment and the planet. And it seems really idyllic, to be honest. It's lovely. Yeah. And so in terms of raising your children outside, do you think their childhood was very different from your own? Do you think it shaped them in a particular way?
I think it was very different. I mean, they didn't have to take the subway. They could walk pretty much walk to school. You take a chair, like us, the gondola to go to school. They were able to ski. I mean, they got to the point where they don't want to ski because they're like, oh, we're sick of skiing. We ski all the time. You're skiing 3-4 times a week. And I was skiing once a month if we were lucky. So you're kind of like, how can you be sick of it? Like you should be. Yeah. But I think, I'm not saying they take it for granted, but you live in this nature, this bubble, and then they don't want to leave. They love where they live. I think all 3 of them will probably stay somewhere in the mountains, even if they say, oh, my youngest, she'll be like, I'm going to go to a city. I actually don't see them leaving because they all somehow feel connected to being in the mountains too. Because when we go to a city, like when we go to Toronto, they don't like it. Like you can tell right away, they don't like the drive, the sitting in traffic. That doesn't interest them at all. And I grew up with the whole, you sit and wait in traffic for 2 hours and you've moved maybe half an hour, or not like, that was normally a 30-minute drive is now a 2-hour drive. And you have to take the subway and, be careful and don't speak to strangers. And that whole freedom that you have in the mountains is incredible. I mean, when I go back to Toronto and I see my friends raising their kids, hold my hand, don't move, don't run. And in the mountains, you can just run. you don't have to hold, they're free and they're wild, and they were free and wild since they were 1 year old. They were just gunning it. And you can't, I mean, I couldn't take them to a city because they wouldn't hold my hand.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a total different thing to be outside all the time.
So 2 months in the summer in Toronto on holiday is not exactly ideal.
No, we're going 3 weeks this summer.
Okay.
So we do go, but I remember like my parents used to live downtown Toronto, and they, like, when the kids were younger, they would just run out, and you have the subways and the streetcar. I'm like, oh my God.
Yes.
And people would think, they're crazy. Do you not have control of your children? And you're like, I do, but not like, they don't have that. You don't grow up with it. So you don't have that urge to hold hands, and they just don't see the point. I mean, even here you guys hold hands and it's a city, whereas we just walk out and you're in the middle of the street, like it's a tiny road and you're just walking. I have a girl living with me right now from Houston. And I mean, the one thing she said is, your road is smaller than my driveway.
Oh.
So she's like, our roads in front of our house are like the size of your highways in Switzerland. I mean, I couldn't imagine living like that.
Wow. That's such an interesting observation.
And she doesn't want to go back now to Houston. I mean, she came and was really anxious to be here. And now she's seen all the positives of living in a small, I mean, our town is 200, 300 people. And she sees, she takes the train every day to go to Sion, and then takes the train to come back, which is a 40-minute train ride. But she's like, it's so great because she can go to the city, have this like city, big town, Sion, but come back and be completely connected to nature and just walk out and not be worried about people, anything, any of these worries that you have, drugs, all these things that you have, you don't have that where we are.
It's so beautiful. I think it's such a beautiful way to live. And I mean, cities certainly have their place, but I think there's something about that nature connection, and we believe it's deeply rooted in us, and that it's very primal, and we need it. And I think we thrive when we're exposed and in nature far more than we do in urban environments.
I think as well, you see like when we were talking about before about the weather and everything, I think when you live in the city, you don't see the effects of nature. You don't understand why people are fighting for the climate and why people are fighting for the environment. And when you live there, you see it all the time. And so then you become, I mean, exactly this girl who lives with us, she's now seen it, and she's like, there's no snow. In February it didn't snow, it was warm. All of a sudden in May there's tons of snow. What's going on? So you realize that there's something happening.
Yeah. And this is something we say all the time, that a lot of people who don't believe in climate change or aren't aware of it, we think it's because of the lack of exposure, that being on a golf course or outside your suburban home isn't going to expose you to it the way that being in the Alps would. And not everyone has access to the Alps, but even just being in natural settings and really picking up a pulse for that area. We have a very local hike that we've done since our kids were in the womb, really. And a couple years ago, we went there and the trail was blocked. And we do it almost every weekend. It was like our go-to trail. And I contacted the local government and said, are you going to open this trail? And she said, no, it's closed permanently. And we thought, well, why is it closed permanently? But the trail is this beautiful area and it has beech trees. And we had a drought 2-3 years ago, I think. And the beech tree, the roots are so shallow that they couldn't bring up enough water up into the tree. And so they were all just falling over, and it became a major safety issue.
Yeah, they started to die. They'd break off mid-shaft from wind and topple. And so the whole area is just closed.
Yeah. And that's 10 minutes from where we live, 15 minutes, And so we thought, gosh, this is so local. We really see it locally, but we're also in the Alps quite a lot, even though we don't live there. But we see it with glacial retreat. We see it with unpredictable weather. We see it with rivers running dry or being completely.
Well, and your hiking trail, same thing. Your hiking trails, I mean, hiking trails we did forever, and all of a sudden you can't do them because the whole trail is falling down the mountain. I mean, this winter, there's so many roads that fell, tunnels that fell, rocks that fell. Every year we hear more and more about, the permafrost and everything's coming down. So you hear about it, you see it, you in the cities, you don't feel, you're a bit more secluded from that.
Yeah.
A few years ago, they even had to airlift water to the cows, right? I mean, which is a little bit strange.
Well, we have in the summers now, we have the whole like times, like you can have certain, the farmers have times when they can use the water and that. So like 4 years ago when we first had the climate law, the farmers around us didn't really, they were like, why? Everything's fine. We have the glaciers. It's all good. And 2 years ago, they started to see like, okay, there is a reason because they don't have access to water. We had all the dry summers. It's really happening. Like it's really live and there's problems.
Well, and in Valais too, like the history of some of the water usage is around the beasts.
They're dry.
The small flowing streams, for people
Yeah.
who don't know what a beast is. But yeah, they're all dry,
Yep.
or they're damaged or rerouted, but mostly dry.
Yeah, they're dry.
And that causes a lot of problems with how irrigation works.
And they were even like one of the lakes that had the solar panels on the lake floating. They were bringing water in to make sure that they still float. I mean, there's things that's just,
Seriously.
yeah. So there's some things you're like, okay, what are we doing and how are we thinking about it?
Yeah. And I guess maybe that's a nice segue into your involvement with Protect Our Winters. And Protect Our Winters is a nonprofit organization that I think launched in 2007 by this professional snowboarder, Jeremy Jones. And so, what do you do for them, Vanessa? And what is their role within Switzerland? I think they're a global organization. Is that right?
So each chapter, so Project Wonders, you're right, is started in the US with Jeremy Jones, but then in Switzerland it was started and founded by Nicholas Bornstein. So he started it about 2014, don't get me wrong. It's interesting because when I worked for Patagonia, I was, Protect Our Winters is known for bringing community together and advocacy towards climate change. And so when we started, it was really small. Well, when Nicholas started, it was tiny, and Patagonia gives grants. So it was kind of like it was the perfect for Patagonia. The whole community is outdoors people. Protect Our Winters is outdoors people. It's a super connection because it's obviously skiers and hikers and bikers looking at ways to protect the environment or protect, how to get rid of climate change. So my involvement from the beginning was trying to figure out ways to give money through Patagonia, through 1% for the planet. And then as well, because I live where I live, it was like, how can I grow the community to raise awareness that this whole ski area needs to change? We need to change how we're doing things in the ski resorts and raise awareness to skiers that everyone taking one person in a car to go skiing isn't helping us. It's, we're getting less and less snow. So first it was, raising this awareness through skiers, but we realized, and that at that time as well, there was a lot of discussion about your carbon footprint and putting a lot of pressure on the individual, on the skier, like, you're bad because you're taking a plane and you're bad because you're taking a helicopter, which we don't want to do. We really want, they should be allowed to ski and do their sport. It's not it's not their fault that the climate is the way it is. Obviously, we have to take responsibility as individuals and change things. But now with Protect Our Winters, we've over the years realized that we really have to go into political advocacy. And so getting, lobbying that people vote, trying to make the importance of political change to really make change is the most important thing we can do. So we've been working with parliament people, we've been working with politicians, we've been working with ski resorts, we've been working with other organizations, other brands to try and come up with ways for people to really come to awareness that, okay, first, yes, it's good to eat vegetarian, it's good to take the train to go skiing. All those things are really great, and that would be good that we all do that, but we also need to vote to get political change, to get proper change and proper laws put in place to help the environment.
Absolutely. And where do you see, I guess, the organization going, or what are some grassroots ways that you're really trying to keep winters in Switzerland? Because it's a big tourist industry. And, some years it's great and some years it's nothing.
That's a hard question.
Yeah, it is.
So I think the big problem in Switzerland is we're lucky we will continue to have skiing because we have these resorts over what we call over 1,600, 1,700 meters. I mean, we still have snow. So those resorts, obviously there's way more people. Like, for example, where I live, we didn't have a downtime this year. There's no low season. It's just constant. There's constant flow of people. It's constantly flow. Zermatt, there's no downtime anymore because you can see that those small resorts that are under 1,600 meters, they shut down. And people are now having to go to the bigger resorts, higher resorts. So there's obviously movement. And this is where you have to think about, like, how are you moving? Are you taking the train? Are you taking the car? How are you going? So the mobility issue is a big one that we have to tackle. And then it's working with the ski resorts to try and get them to think about, how do they groom? Can they change the groomers to electric groomers? Can they put solar? Can they do the energy out of solar? How do they feed? Can we talk about more locally feeding, the tourism industry? And then consumption, obviously consumption is a big thing because tourists go somewhere and buy a lot of stuff. So can we show that secondhand or rental is a better way to go? So those are initiatives that are happening in ski resorts, and hopefully they will start to really make it more open, like really opening up the outdoors so more people can come skiing because it is super expensive. So you want to make it that it's opening up. So Protect Our Winters looks at all those different aspects to try and get everyone to be able to ski and to talk about climate change, to show what's happening and do something good.
Yeah, I think it's such an important work, and it's something that we've seen. Robert and I are not skiers, but our children are. But we're in the mountains in the winter, and we've had some winters where it's just grass. I mean, and I think was it last year or a couple years ago, they were opening bike trails in winter
2
because
years ago.
there just wasn't enough snow to fuel the skiing.
Some
So-
resorts even shut for the whole season.
Yep.
Yeah.
Without even
Without
skiing.
even, yeah. So they have to rethink their whole business.
Yeah,
I think,
yeah.
and this is as well. So Protect Our Winters, we use we have a lot of athletes, and we work with our athletes, our creative team, our scientists, to try and portray what's going on so that they can talk to the people around to say like, okay, well, you can't ski, you can bike, you can hike, there's all these different things you can do in the mountains, and you can still like you show what's going on and get people to understand what's going on and how to save or help save them.
Yeah.
Several years ago, we went to Nandez.
Yeah.
And our discussion with this was in summer, and our discussion with the
We stayed at the
hotel.
hotel, yeah.
And their main business is 80% in winter, right? So summer is like almost nothing. And a lot of the town didn't have a lot of tourism, but it's like 80% of their volume is in winter. So if there's no winter, like entire
It's gone.
towns can dry up.
Yeah.
You have to rethink the whole model.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think Switzerland has to rethink a lot of their resorts.
Mhm.
I don't know if I can say, well, so we just did with Klima Now, with Spotlight, we've done a whole, we've partnered up with BKW and Graubünden. We're doing a call out for projects on rethinking the alpine areas and tourism areas, and how can you what can you do for four season for a more sustainable environment and not having this 80%, because the mountains can't cater. I mean,
Yeah.
Verbier goes from 3,000 people year round to 45,000 people at Christmas. It's not meant to do that.
No.
Yeah.
You can't, I mean, it just can't take it.
Yeah, that's such a valid point. Iceland has a similar issue with the infrastructure just cannot maintain the tourism. And when you think of infrastructure, when you really dive deep into that, the water, the streets, the trash, the extra trash, where does all of that go when we
Even
have
the housing temporarily.
Exactly.
That's not used most of the year. I mean, Iceland has what, 350,000 people?
It's very small.
And they
yeah.
have tourism of the million or
Yeah.
more.
So when you have that in Switzerland, like you said, that's unbelievable, the amount of people that come.
Yeah, no, it can't take it. It's just, I mean, it does, but it's not sustainable, and it's not, we need to move it like as well. We were talking about on the train coming here, the whole seasons have changed. I mean, winter's later. So you should almost think like, we still had snow in May and the resort's closed. There's nothing for us to do. We're sitting there like, oh, it's wonderful, but we can't access it. And even for clothing, like, the seasons are usually, you sell your clothing from February to June, and then we start winter in August to December. Well, no, but because we haven't even had summer yet. We haven't even sold a t-shirt properly because it's been so cold.
Yeah.
So everything is switching, and we're not changing with the switch. We're not adapting. Everyone talks about agility and how are you being agile in your business world? Well, we're not really. Like, I don't think any of the resorts aren't. And, we're still stuck to this model of winter is January to March, then comes spring. But no, we're not like that anymore. With climate change, everything is changing, and we have to change too.
The seasons are blurring,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
you can still have winter towards the end of spring or summer.
Yeah.
I mean, we did a hike in Nufenenpass at
And
the beginning of
so-
August, and it was like snowing. I mean, it was snowstorm. So it's very unpredictable.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's a really good way to look at it, that we have to change the model. We have to reframe how we look at not only seasons, but the industry of tourism. But I think the main thing is to really keep people exposed and connected to the outdoors. Because I think without that, we don't see what we're losing.
No,
Yeah.
no, we have no clue. I think, we have to change with it. Like the biking has to be a year-round thing, not that, okay, you can only bike, you can bike all year, but it's kind of like this thought process of, okay, it's open now to bikers, so now we bike, and now it's only skiers. It's all year round in the end of the day.
Well, and I mean, everybody isn't going to do every sport, but
No.
maybe we can, I guess, educate everybody on to appreciate the outdoors all year round for whatever the outdoors means to them. I mean, I think
Yeah.
at least you can get outside and do something that's interesting.
Yeah.
And I'd be really curious to see what you get in terms of submissions for the idea of,
Me too.
yeah, that'll be really interesting.
Yeah. So we have 3-year project with them, and so this year it's the tourism, and then afterwards it'll be about energy, and the following year will be about agriculture. They're interesting topics to tackle because there's like alpine resilience there's a lot of stuff happening in the mountain villages, and some villages are completely empty. I mean, people are gone because there's nothing left. There's nothing left to do, and because there's more and more. This transport issue is a big issue because more and more people have cars, so there's no reason to have buses or trains running in these small towns. So then they're stuck there. So then they all move out. So these villages have to be reignited. So, for example, somewhere like Belval, they reignited with a bike park because they found that the village was just emptying, and the skiing, they didn't have enough snow. So how can they reignite this town? And they reignited it with mountain biking.
Yeah.
And it's more popular probably than skiing.
That's phenomenal. And I think something Switzerland does remarkably well, and that we've had the privilege of doing extensively, is the hut system.
Yep.
And the mountain inns and the mountain hotels. It's phenomenal. And I think maybe if they really pay a lot of attention to that, because it's so connected and it's so beautiful. And for people who think, oh, if I have kids, I don't want to lug all the camping gear. And no, you don't have to. You can
So
hike
well
to a hut.
organized.
Yes.
Hiking or biking to the hut. I mean, the infrastructure is great. You can
It's phenomenal.
almost not bring anything with you and still have
Everything's there.
everything there, right?
Yeah.
It's incredible. Yeah.
And some of the locations are just so remote and so, I mean, I can't say that they're wild anymore, but they're really,
Yeah, but they're wild. Some of them are wild.
yeah. And some of them are just so out there, and it's just
I mean,
fabulous.
you don't have to work to get to all of them, but there are some that you do. So it has a wide variety of what people might be looking for.
So maybe.
But this is where you do see climate. I mean, when I was at the Concordia hut last summer and this winter, and then my laziness was, we have to do the 300 stairs up.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
This is the one above the Alech Glacier.
Yeah, it's like, geez. And then you hear the stories of when it was, you would walk out and walk onto the glacier. And now you have 300 stairs. And it's like
when you really see it, it's like, wow.
It's up there. It's a howl to get up there. So after a long day you're like, oh, really?
Gotta do that. Yeah. But it makes you really appreciate it once you arrive.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's incredible. And I think,
it's a full experience. I would, suggest everyone to do it.
It's amazing. And I think the glaciers, we'll say this and then we'll pivot, but I think the glaciers, we've tracked the Rhone Glacier for a number of years because it's so accessible. But even when you see the majesty and the size and the scale of the Alech Glacier, there's really, I mean, it's such a powerful feeling to stand there and view it.
And hear it.
And
yes, that's strange and fascinating and amazing.
Yeah, and hear it.
Yeah.
It's an awe-inspiring moment.
Yes.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think when you have your children, we have an image of our kids being very young, and we were looking out at the glacier. And I, as a parent who really appreciates this, I always think, God, I hope this is here for them.
Yeah.
Because it's so, I think it just makes up the landscape. And that whole area is changing so much. And
so when I arrived in 96, we skied Montfort. I came and worked at a summer camp. That's what I came for. And my thing was like, I wanted to ski in the summer. It was so amazing that you could ski in the summer. And so we would ski every summer on the Montfort Glacier, which doesn't exist anymore. The Montfort Glacier is gone, and the summer skiing ended in about 99, pretty much. So that was that. It's crazy. Now you look up at Montfort and it's just these gray pebbles and gray and black, and it's really gross. And now we look on the other side, like the Petit Combat and the Glacier de Colbassière, where I live, the same. It's just going gray and black, and it's gone. It's dead. And you're like, how can this be happening?
Yeah.
Right before your eyes. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so sad because glaciers, like when you think about it, the glacial ice is just so ancient and has so much history in it.
All the stories.
Yes. And it's
well, this reminds me of, I think last summer when I went to Glecksteinhütte, and they have a massive glacier in the back. Every 20 minutes something was calving off the glacier. It was crazy.
The sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we walked down the Alech last August, it was super hot. And we were 6 girls tied into our guide. And I mean, obviously the girls most of them were photographers, so they're stopping every 5 minutes to take photos. So when you would stop, you would really hear the water underneath, but not like a little bit of water. It was like gushing, like you felt like you were on top of this massive river, and just the different sounds of falling rocks. And you feel like you're alone, but you're not. It's scary, amazing all at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, this is I think the attraction of the natural world is that it's so powerful and it creates such a humility in us because it's so much bigger than us.
But and that's where I'm sad because yeah, when you look at like my friends who grew up in the city, they don't have a clue, and they're still in the
Yes.
city, so they don't understand what this magic or what this power has
Yeah.
when you feel it and see it, and then why you want to save it.
Exactly.
You go back to a city and you see like, oh, we can't afford to put solar panels. We're just going to continue the way we're going, and it's like, well, if you knew why you spend that money, then you would do it. You wouldn't question. You would just do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe that's a good way for us to talk about your work and your involvement with Patagonia, which is, I think, a real player in trying to protect and preserve these spaces. So you serve as the community marketing and impact manager. So what exactly does that mean? How do you spend your days, Vanessa?
Yes. So I spend most of my days trying to figure out what community we need to talk to, and then how can we make impact. So, for example, like last night, I was quite pleased because they shared we have an oceans campaign happening right now where we're trying to create a law to stop bottom sea trawling on the coastlines of Europe, and I was quite pleased because Switzerland is not an ocean country. We're not on any coastline. And I was like, well, it won't have much relevance. But the past 4 weeks, we have gotten we're third place in the European thing for signatures. So it's like, oh, this was people have been signing my petition, this petition, the Patagonia petition. So I was quite proud that it's making movement in, the community. So the impact of me going around speaking to people has been doing something. So I guess I'm doing something. So yeah, our impact is basically our enviro. So for me, I think my side is really the impact is talking about our campaigns. So Patagonia campaigns right now is oceans or Salmon Nation. So we just spoke about Iceland. We did a big campaign and a film about banning the open sea farm nets in Iceland. So that was another thing that, where does that come from? But it's really interesting to talk about this. And it's talking about food, about what we eat. And oceans in the end is talking about fish, bringing, having local fishermen have their jobs and having local fish and real fish.
Local economies, local infrastructure, and
helping the communities.
Yeah.
So those are like our campaigns. And then we always go out and help our NGO campaigns. So here, like, for example, Protect Our Winters or Campax or Klimaschutz. So the different NGOs we work with, we help them with their campaigns. We do events. So like tomorrow, the storytelling breakfast or lunch, actually tomorrow is all about biodiversity, which then will go into a final part of that discussion tomorrow morning. We'll talk about the new law that will be happening in September. I mean, obviously Switzerland, every 4 months we vote.
Yes.
So we will be voting on that. But so tomorrow we'll explain what that law would be about. And that's what the NGO Pro Natura tomorrow, who's coming in to talk about the biodiversity and how important it is for Switzerland, which people don't know either. So we have so many votes, so many votes I find in Switzerland that we get lost. And so I at least try and help, make events to talk about what's happening in Switzerland with our NGOs and what's important to vote for and not important to vote for, try and create priorities. We work with other businesses to talk about circular economy. So exactly like when you came to the storytelling breakfast, we try and work with other brands to inspire them to be part of 1% for the planet or to help the other NGOs. And then obviously there's the part of marketing where Patagonia does an amazing job we want to sell our product. So I have to work with our dealers to put the campaigns in for example, Transa, which is in Basel. So put the campaigns in the shops and make sure that our product is there and make sure that the marketing stories are seen and heard about. Tonight we're showing the film Shitropacine. So that came from our marketing department to talk about consumption and the quality and why you should buy good quality. So so a bit like marketing, impact, community, and then community is basically just building up different groups of people through our stories, and hopefully they get engaged and want to do more.
Yeah, I think it's something that Patagonia does so well. It's just so well done in terms of, I think, the outreach, the advocacy. And I think there is a level of, it's a bit provocative in some regards. And I love the concept that Patagonia, in my opinion, does not feel afraid to poke and prod and just be provocative. But I think with that, it really brings these very important issues to light.
Mhm.
And I think it exposes them in a way that a lot of organizations kind of shy away from. And I think it's really nice that they lean into them. And even the film that we'll preview tonight, Shithropocene, is very, for me, of the Patagonia films I've viewed, this one is very different.
Yeah, I find it as well very
Yeah.
different.
But in a way, I really...
We're very interested to see
Yes.
the outcome, like to see what people say about it, because yeah, it's the first time we screen it in Switzerland, and then I was like, wow, it's different. It's well, it makes us all feel really stupid. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. It's quite, yeah. And it's very theatrical and animated in a way.
It's a different type of film
Yes.
than what we're used to seeing from Patagonia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you-
No, there's no nature. It's it's
Yeah.
very in your head, kind of like there's different people speaking to you from all sides.
Yeah. Yeah. So it will be interesting to get the audience feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'll be very interesting.
I'm curious of your perspective on maybe the culture,
Mm.
like because Patagonia is very U.S. centric. Do you see the culture between the U.S. side and let's say Switzerland or Europe in general?
So I've been with the company for 10 years, and when I started, Patagonia wasn't very well known in Switzerland. They weren't known for the stories. It was kind of like, you're an American company, you're not made here, and why are you not made locally? And all those questions always came up. And I think over the years, I mean, now I go everywhere I go, you see Patagonia everywhere. I'm so surprised at the raise up, which is a good thing, because then you're like, okay, people are we were somehow hitting maybe the environment. Like a lot of people are wearing it because they feel like, they're talking about the environment if they wear it. They're green if they wear it. There's some kind of, I'm sustainable if I wear Patagonia, which is great. We still would like to grow our technical side, but I think what's nice is how it's grown is through, for me, the biggest touch is the NGOs being able to work on campaigns locally. So usually it was these American campaigns, in the past it was Artificial Damnation, all American kind of films, and we've become more local, where we're talking about local issues, to the point where, Switzerland, we really went and got involved with the Swiss climate law, with the different NGOs working around it. That has helped a lot, where we're talking locally, and I think it's really important. Like, I think it's super important, and to show that we're not just an American brand who's coming in and, listen to us, we know best. We're trying to learn what's best for Switzerland, what's best for Swiss politics, and then how can we help you locally and help you, the impact hubs, or these entrepreneurs, or these little startups, or these incubator programs. How can we help them to get education or get involved somehow politically, or any kind of way that we can to make change happen.
Okay.
I think that you do that remarkably well at Patagonia, and I think there's a lot to learn. Other businesses can certainly learn from the Patagonia model. And I think the biggest thing is the latest statement that Yvonne has made with, we're in business to save our home planet. I don't know if you want to talk about the holding company. I've read about it, but it was such I think in the business world, very dramatic. And what that...
Yeah, nobody does stuff like that.
No.
But they did do it in Switzerland. It's not a new phenomenon.
Yeah, it's
There
not a new
is quite a few companies that do that. So in Switzerland, it wasn't like, unheard of. But I remember when that just happened, I was at an event in the Google building in Zurich. And I mean, one of the NGOs, Vanessa, tell them what they did. Speak up. And I was like, okay, Patagonia just gave the company to the earth. And then they were like, well, we can't do that. And, it was very big, like, pushback. And how could I talk about that? And we're not that kind of company. And now, the PR was incredible. And we have more PR about that in Europe than in North America. So Europe was waiting for it. I think it kind of, it did push.
Resonated.
Yeah, it resonated. I think, again, like I said, I think Europe is a bit more further along with the climate strikes, with talking about, solar and all these issues. We're a bit further along also because we live closer. Maybe we're feeling the heat more. But it resonated a lot, and people were waiting for something to happen. And so after that, you could see that some businesses did, like, they put nature on the board. They started to give more money. So some businesses did do something good. We haven't had what we thought we would have, but we don't think we will. I think what Yvonne Chouinard has said is that this should make 1% easier. This is something that, like, that is so far. I'm not going to give my plan, my company to the earth. That's so far, like, crazy, or so far generous. But 1% now sounds so small.
Exactly.
So you can do that. So why can't more businesses give 1%? Because that's not a big deal. You're somehow, and that was what we at the beginning, of 1%, it was really, how can we help the environment? I mean, all the time. So this 1% for the planet is a constant you're constantly every year giving to 1%, and you're constantly advocating for the NGOs. And that's why we're known as this activism company, because we're constantly giving and helping, save a river, or helping save, help save some glaciers, or whatever it might be. We're constantly advocating for those NGOs and helping them do their campaigns.
Well, and there's lots of businesses that make 50, 60, 70+%. Why can't you give 1, 2, 3%? I mean, that's nothing.
No.
Yeah.
And not just do it when you feel like, I think some businesses, they just do it once a year. They're like, okay, this year we made a really good profit, so this year we'll give it. But next year it's hard, so no, we won't. Like,
or when the time's right, because of taxes or something.
But it's never right. And that was what was incredible. Like, even during COVID, when everyone was struggling, we were struggling too at the beginning. We had no idea how that would, obviously people went outdoors after, so it helped. But at the beginning, it was like, but we keep giving 1%. We can't let them down. It makes it a constant. And the NGOs as well. That's something for me, I felt in Switzerland, they could count on us and they could trust us. And that transparency that we will be there. We're not just doing this for, I want to put my logo on your t-shirt or put my logo on your webpage. We're here no matter what.
Yeah.
And that builds trust, and then builds the community, and has really helped Patagonia make a lot of noise and get further.
And it's a beautiful way. I mean, like you said, 1% is not significant for well-established companies. I think if you're starting out or you're a very small enterprise, you would feel 1% perhaps, but for some of these other companies. And I think it says a lot to make that commitment.
Yeah.
It's really, like you said, it helps create.
So he was like 1%'s the easy win, and then Holdfast is now our so we give to the Earth. Last year we gave 70 million to the Earth, so to different NGOs that we're working with, and they can buy land, so they're saving land where they want to drill oil and gas, or the Vjosa in Albania, so we help save this river, indigenous areas, so all kinds of areas where normally we wouldn't be able to go to, we are now able to go to, because we have a bigger pot of money that we can use.
That's phenomenal. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's a really beautiful concept. Is there anything else you want us to know about Patagonia?
There's lots.
Before we go to our lightning round, because I know we're limited with time and I want to respect that today.
I think the biggest thing for Patagonia is the repair. And you talked about it. We talked about it a bit, like ish.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing for us is our repair. We really are trying to vamp up the repair. So our worn wear, and make sure that people know that you can repair your clothing, and then you can reuse it. And it's a way of helping solve this consumption issue, because you're using it for longer, so it has less of an impact on the environment. And I think that's for us, like our, bringing worn wear out on the road. We're constantly on the road doing this. Like right now it's in Italy, the worn wear. So it's moved from Graubünden last week to Italy, and we're still repairing, and we're still talking about it and trying to get people educated. And people still don't know you can repair. So people are still stunned when you're like, yeah, you can repair the zipper. Yes, the zipper is made to repair. It wasn't made to break.
Yeah, this is phenomenal. And for people who aren't too familiar with the worn wear program, you essentially have a mobile
vehicle. We have many. So we have 2 in Europe of these mobile vehicles. In the States, they have 3. They have 1 in South America. So we have these mobile vehicles that go around, and here we repair all product, all brands. So anything. And so like even crash pads last weekend. And we repair, and then you can put it back into use, and we repair for free. And then Patagonia has an ironclad guarantee, so you can repair Patagonia for life for free. So you can just send in your product on our website. You go in, and there's a whole portal. It's really easy to use now. And you can get your Patagonia clothing free, repaired anytime, all the time.
Nice.
It's such a fabulous opportunity for people. And I know Patagonia does a great job of, I believe it's called The Stories We Wear.
Yep.
And I think that's so beautiful, because a lot of people who are in the outdoors space, they do have an emotional connection to their clothes, because their clothes represent, a hike they went on and something memorable happened, or a peak that they may have climbed, or a river that they, went down. But the Stories We Wear, I was watching them last night, and for some reason I fell in love with Sean Villanueva.
He's so great.
O'Driscoll. He was fabulous. But I just, he was saying that this one guy found his shirt that had so many holes in it, and he used it as a rag, and he was like, whoa, it's my favorite shirt, And I thought it's so beautiful, because it meant so much to him, and the holes in it are precious, and they're not considered that it's not trash. It's just so lovely. And I think we need to get back to that, where, I always am devastated when I've worn the tread out of my boots, because I think, Oh
What do
my
I do?
gosh, I've gone so many kilometers in these. And, some of the people I've hiked with aren't here anymore. And I think, oh, I hiked this route with this person and now she's gone. And they have such an emotional connection. And I think we need to bring that back. And I think you do a great job of allowing people to preserve those clothes that they feel connected to. So I think it's super.
Thank you.
Yeah.
They're very nice stories.
They're-
Everyone has stories to tell about
Yeah.
their clothing.
But it's so great. Even the other day, I got an ad I subscribed to the newsletter, and it was this girl, and she had worn her pink, what are your shorts called?
The baggies.
The baggies. Oh my God. And the story with the baggies. And I'm sitting at my computer and I'm like, it's just so good. I just love it. And they were like so tattered, and they weren't even original baggies. She had inherited them from someone else and had done a through hike in them. And I thought, God, that's so beautiful. Like she could frame them if she decides to not wear them, because there's a story. They're like, come over and have dinner and I'll tell you about my baggies and my through hike, It's just so beautiful.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of stories about people's clothes. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's quite incredible. And then you see the old stuff that come out, and I did this with it. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
the stories are
Really
endless.
impressive. Yeah, really impressive. Okay, so we're going to get to our lightning round because we want to honor your time, Vanessa. So we just ask you like a couple questions really quickly,
Okay.
and then you say whatever comes to mind.
So
Or
that
if
was
you,
this.
yeah.
Okay.
So this is something we really believe in at reVyven. It's the belief that one person, one organization has the power to impart positive change. Do you agree with that?
No. So
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm one person. I can't do much. I can try and get my kids to do it. I don't even know if they listen to it. But I do believe that together we can create positive change.
Yeah.
So I do that one person planting a seed can hopefully do it. So Yvonne
Yeah.
Chouinard has done a bloody good job, but we need to be a lot of us to create like real positive change or a real movement.
Mm-hmm. So one person can ignite something, but you need a community behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What do you wish you had more time for?
So many stuff. And if I pick some one thing, I think I wish I had more time for people, my friends, my family.
Mm-hmm.
I think we get into life and we just become too busy, and then we say, "Oh, we're going to do this," and you don't, and it just flies by.
Yeah. And do you have a favorite Patagonia film?
A film is Tree Line. Tree Line is one of my favorite films.
Okay.
It's all about skiing, and I mean, the skiing is incredibly beautiful. One of my favorite parts is in BC and in Canada. But the movie talks about the trees and the roots and the circles on the roots and the age and how long they've been alive. And so it really touches on climate and where they've been. And it's just storytelling. It's a beautiful film.
So if we haven't watched that, it's definitely worth watching. What book do you treasure the most?
So this was a hard question.
It's hard.
So I love reading, and my father sends me books from Canada. I feel really privileged because he does send me a lot of books all the time. One of my favorite authors is Isabella Landy. And it's all about it's real storytelling. So family sagas and everything. So I really like to read those kind of things. Then we read a lot of climate books. So I still think like, one of the better climate books is Let My People Go Surfing. It's not even a climate book, but it's about responsible business. So it's still a good book. It's really hard. I was like, wow, like I'm even part of a book club. So I read the books in the book club and I was like, yeah, what book?
Yeah.
And, there was an Elena Ferrante, another family saga, 4-book part that I really loved reading. But there's one book I don't know. But anything I do, I had a book actually talking about hiking. It was a book called The North Star, and it's about hiking the Campagna San Compostela hike.
Yes.
And it's a beautiful story about hiking and the feelings and the emotions. And so, yeah. So
it's hard to narrow it down to one. I'm sorry that we ask that. Yes. What impact do you hope to have on the world?
My impact, wow. So I should say a good mother on the world, but on the world, I think it's just being a good human being and doing, my job as a human, go vote and look after what you've brought in and go out with, happiness to the people around you.
Mm-hmm. Vanessa, is there anything else that you'd like to say today before we close? Or how can people find information, I guess, about Protect Our Winters or Patagonia?
So everything is online, the website. So Protect Our Winters Switzerland is online, obviously the American as well. It's a really, really good site. It's in all languages. And there you can learn a lot about the environment and what we do. And then Patagonia.com. So the European is eu.patagonia.com. And in there's all our stories, our blogs, our footprint, Holdfast, our product, obviously. And then I really like, what can we do? I think, go out in nature. I think what you two are doing, writing books about going out and hiking and is amazing. And just keep going out in nature and keep exploring and bringing more people to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that connection to the natural world is essential, particularly now. Yeah. Well, Vanessa, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
We truly appreciate it. And the work you're doing, we feel privileged because every time we leave after recording a podcast, we both talk and we're like, oh, that's why we do this. Because we always leave feeling better than when we came in, because it gives us such hope of the work people are doing and the outreach they're doing. And we've covered, we're a new organization, but we've covered a real broad spectrum of people and topics. Yeah. And so every time we leave, we're like, and I always get very emotional about it. Sometimes I'm like, just give me a second, because it's such beautiful work that people are doing. And so we always leave feeling very inspired, because climate can be a heavy topic. But when we meet with people who are very action-based, it feels so good. Like,
It's refreshing.
It's very refreshing. So thank you.
Yeah, I think climate has so many opportunities and solutions, and we have them.
Yes.
And I think we're making it too negative.
Yeah, I agree. So that's really one of our goals, is to highlight the positive and the people who are really, they're just getting after it.
Yeah.
I love that.
Gotta live with it.
Exactly. So thank you for your time.
No,
we
thank you.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Thanks. We hope you have enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to be awesome and share this podcast with your friends. Click subscribe, rate, and review. Do you have a story to tell? An organization you'd like to tell the world about? We love to hear from you and our global community. So please get in touch with us at reVyven.com. That's reVyven.com. Or send us an email at reVyven.com@gmail.com.